This is mile marker 4, practice 1, and we're going to look at question 10. Question 9 and 10 are dependent on one another. So you can't answer 10 before you answer 9. And in the last video, we answered 9. We found our radius was 15. So in question 10, we're now asked to find the area of the sector ABC. So what is this area? Again, that's really not too difficult. We are going to use a proportion to solve that. I'm going to move my paper up here, or up to the top of my paper where it's blank. So remember, the two proportions we're using to solve these, we're always comparing the angle, the central angle of the sector or arc, depending what we're working with, to the entire circle. So when we look at this, we're going to compare 36 degrees to 360. Since we're talking about a sector now instead of an arc, I'm going to just abbreviate sector and circle. That just helps us keep our ratios aligned. And then what we need is we need to find out the area of the sector. So we said we're going to compare our angles. We're also going to compare our areas. We don't know the area of the sector, and we also don't actually know the area of the circle yet, but we could figure that out. So in question 9, we learned that our radius is 15. If our radius is 15, and we know that area is pi times our radius squared, we need only square that. 15 squared is 225, to say that our area is 225 pi. So our radius squared times pi. We're going to look for the sector area. And just like we have with all these other proportions, instead of multiplying through by pi, it's easiest to cancel it out from our proportion. Solve for x, just the multiplier of pi, but know that when we write our final answer down here in pi notation, x alone isn't the answer. It's going to be that number times pi for our sector area. So we are going to, we can cross multiply here. If you were watching the video for question 9, you heard me say that this ratio simplifies to a 1-to-10 ratio. I know that because 36 times 10 is 360. So if we want to actually avoid cross multiplication, we could cancel this out and say that this ratio is a 1-to-10 ratio. If we recognize this is a 1-to-10 ratio, we could look at this number, 225, and say, okay, to find x, I really need only divide this by 10. So by doing that, x equals 22.5. So we get 22.5 for x. Now, this is where you might want to speak with your specific geometry teacher. I would allow 22.5 pi as the answer for the sector area. However, mathematicians, we really like when we can to express that instead as a fraction. So if I think about that, 22.5, that's going to be the same as if we just double this essentially, we would get 45. So that's going to be the same as 45 halves. So you could write this as like 45 over 2 pi. And if you really want to be a good mathematician, really the preferred notation is 45 pi over 2. In my opinion, these are all acceptable answers for question number 10.